Instead of lamenting about the demise of the independent bookstore, let's go visit one, in Midtown Manhattan no less, that's managed to buck the trend by finding its own unique niche. This is the Complete Traveler Bookstore. In recent years, New York City, like the rest of America, has seen bookshops purged from its landscape. Luckily, the Complete Traveler Bookstore in Manhattan has managed to buck the trend by being extraordinary. Not only is it the first bookstore in America to devote itself solely to travel-related books, it is now known worldwide for its unique inventory of antiquarian travel books. Owner Arnold Greenberg and his wife Harriet started the shop in 1978.
We started because we were writing travel guidebooks. I come into Kibitz a little bit. Arnie loves the old books. I like the new ones.
I like being here.
And I like the atmosphere of the new store. It was always busy and people excited because they were going places.
You know, even as recently as 30, 40, 50 years ago, going to Europe or something like that was a very special occasion and not certainly to be taken casually as it might be a little bit more today.
When demand for new travel books began to wane, the Greenbergs changed gears, focusing only on vintage ones. Today, along with having the largest inventory of its kind, they also have historic maps and a few non-travel first edition collectibles. Of particular note are their Baedeker travel guides, for which they quite possibly have the largest collection in the world. First created by Carl Baedeker in the 1830s, the books are regarded as the first modern travel guides.
Well, they're quite collectible for several reasons. The historical, nostalgic effect is one thing, and the fact that they are really well known for the high quality of their writing. And the other thing that's noteworthy about them is the high quality of their cartography. The maps are so well done, several governments, especially in Europe, used Baedeker's maps instead of their own government cartographers when they were planning a military campaign or something like that.
And some of you who might be thinking, why would you want an antique travel guide, which most likely has places and attractions, not to mention countries, that no longer exist?
Because looking at a vintage book from X number of years ago, you'll see a lot of things that probably wouldn't be included in a book today because there's 100 more years of other things that replaced what people were doing then, and you get information that you wouldn't get now.
The Complete Traveler Bookstore also sees a lot of historians and writers who use their books for research and inspiration.
There was one guy who was writing a book about Freud. In one of his papers, Freud mentioned at a certain period of time when he came up with some theory, he was in Munich, I think it was Munich or Hamburg, whatever it was, and he mentioned he mentioned the name of a hotel. This guy wanted to see if that place really existed, you know, if it was accurate. And we looked and we found the place. It was like a mile out of town, 2-3 kilometers out of town. Gave the name of the owner and stuff like that.
And with some of the older travel books, the subject matter can be stranger than fiction.
There's a book about a fellow who goes to deepest Africa and does indeed meet cannibals and does indeed I don't know whether he wanted to be hospitable or just not make them mad, but he does partake as well. They had a feast of flesh, and he does partake and describes it, and it was pretty queasy to read that, I'll tell you. It's true. Apparently people taste like pork. The thing that strikes me quite often about a lot of the books that we have, particularly the British publications, places like Africa and the South Seas, there's a great deal of condescension towards native peoples. During the heyday of the British Empire, for example, they were pretty much convinced they were the apogee of human perfection. A lot of people come in and say, well, what about online selling? What about e-readers? What about this? What about that? And they predict doom and gloom for the future of the book. Nonsense, say I. Nothing is going to replace the browse. Everybody likes to do that.
It's not easy keeping a bookstore. What keeps you guys doing it?
The word easy should be eliminated from the language.
He loves it. I mean, we've tried to convince him to get out for years, but he really loves it.
It's a semi-hobby, sort of.
The Complete Traveler Bookstore is open regular business hours 7 days a week. And like Amazon, they offer books online, which includes some of their rare acquisitions.